The winter meetings are finally here, and Juan Soto is officially off the board. How this historic signing could affect the St. Louis Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube. If you haven't stopped by yet, please do so. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss a single episode, because this is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Speaking of getting started, let the games begin. Oh, my goodness. The number one domino of free agency in Major League Baseball has officially fallen. Juan Soto and the New York Mets have agreed on a historic 15-year, $765 million deal. He flips from the Bronx to Queens or Flushing or whatever you want to call where the Mets play to join Francisco Lindor and company as they try to bring the Mets their first World Series championship since 1986. Yes, it has been since 1986 since the Mets have won a World Series. Former Cardinal Keith Hernandez, one of their best players back then, Darryl Strawberry, Gary Carter, Dwight Gooden. I remember these names because of the video game RBI Baseball. It has been a long time for the Mets. They haven't won the NL East title or an NL pennant since 2015, but they were in the playoffs in 2016, 2022, and then last year when they had a nice little run. They knocked off the Brewers and the Phillies before they fell to the eventual world champion Dodgers in the NLCS. 4 games to do. Now, did this shock me? Not really. Not really. It did not shock me. When the only thing standing between Mets owner Steve Cohen and what he wants is simply money. Not many people are going to be able to beat him and compete with him there. Forbes has him as the 30th richest person in the United States. He's got a worth of $21.5 billion with a B. So giving out a contract like this, yes, it is a big deal, record-setting deal, but it's also not anything he's going to really sneeze at in the grand scheme of things. He's going to be all right. He's not going hungry. It is the biggest contract in sports history, surpassing the one that the Dodgers gave Shohei Ohtani this past season, except nothing is deferred here. You know, everybody, felt like a little icky, really, when you heard about the Shohei Ohtani deal, you're just kind of like, they kind of did it weird, right? The Mets didn't go this way. They didn't circumvent the money they agreed to pay Soto like now. So they didn't do it where like he's going to make $20 million when he's 84 years old or whatever the nonsense is that the Dodgers and Ohtani agreed to, which they had every right to do. He gets a $75 million signing bonus. He's got an opt-out after 5 seasons. And the opt-out is it's unique. It's very unique. If you haven't heard about it, the Mets will have the ability to void Soto's opt-out clause after the 2029 season, which is 5 years into the deal, if they boost their average annual value of the final 10 years of his deal from $51 million per to $55 million. And if that happens, the overall deal would then escalate to 15 years and $805 million with an AAV of $53.66 million. Just crazy money. The old man inside of me is shaking my head at this contract. Not because it's bad or anything, just that, holy crap, how is one player worth that much money? Now, let's be honest. Nobody is really worth all of the money that any of these guys are getting in any sports, But this is the level where the owners had decided to take things. And it's their money, and they can spend it however they want. But good Lord, crazy, crazy money. I was astonished when Shohei got his deal. But with Ohtani, you were getting what we consider an extremely unique player. Not only were you going to get a guy who could go 50-50, which he did, which was something that has never been done in the sport, ever. It's been around for 1 billion years, and nobody's ever pulled this off. But eventually, you were also going to get Cy Young level abilities on the pitcher's mound as well with the money that you were spending. And now it's Juan Soto getting this type of money, and it doesn't offer the pitching or the speed. He was a finalist for the Gold Glove, had a league-leading 9 assists and a league-leading .993 fielding percentage, but he was also a -1 in defensive runs saved and a -5 in outs above average last year. So when you kind of look at things, like when you would watch the games, like it's not like you're like, wow, what a graceful-looking outfielder he is. Like, no, he didn't screw up very often, and he's got a very good arm, but it's not like, it's not Jason Hayward out there. It's not Harrison Bader out there or Jimmy Edmonds or whoever you want to, give credit to for defensive skills. I will say I'm very pleased that he stayed on the East Coast. That made me happy. You started seeing people mention the Dodgers more and more during the day, and that was one of the last places I wanted him to go. I am a little bit shocked that he jumped ship from the Yankees to the Mets. Yankees fans are not handling this very well, at least the ones that I've seen online, which I feel bad for them. I do. But, it's watching them burning jerseys already and watching them go off. There was a guy who went out to Citi Field where the Mets played, was like, this is where you chose to play. This is your home. And he's like making fun of it, calling it a dump. And if you look at the rosters right now, in my opinion, the Yankees are a much better team, but obviously things can change when your pockets are as deep as Steve Cohen's are. You take a look at the starting rotations. It's Kodai Senga, who threw a grand total of 5 1/3 innings last year. Frankie Montas, who played for the Reds and Brewers and had just this mind-blowing record of 7-11 and an ERA of 4.84. We've seen him pitch well. He pitched well against the Cardinals a few times, but say those are your top 2 guys right now for the Mets. So clearly room for improvement there, but there's still like big names out there. Corbin Burns, Max Fried, our old friend Jack Flaherty is still available. Maybe they can bring Sean Manaea back. What if they make an offer to Roki Sasaki that he can't refuse? What if that is something that happens? So there is room to improve, but I saw a report from John Heyman that the Yankees' final offer, and I don't know how official this is, but it's Heyman, so I'm assuming he knows, 16 years, $760 million. So it's not like the Yankees lowballed Juan Soto and weren't even in the vicinity of what the Mets were giving him. But, they just had a really nice thing going with the Yankees, with Soto and Judge. 1-2 combination right there, as good as any in baseball. Jazz Chisholm Jr.'s back. Giancarlo Stanton looked really, really good late last year. Austin Wells up and coming at catcher. Volpe, Anthony Volpe at shortstop. Jason Dominguez is coming up. Pitching-wise, obviously, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Luis Gil. A lot of really good pieces for the Yankees. And, even without Soto, I think the Yankees are still a very good team. Obviously, they can go out and spend this money elsewhere now. If they were going to spend around $50 million, there's plenty of guys out there that they can pick up to help with some of the loss that is with the Juan Soto production going over to the Mets. Is it going to ever be Juan Soto? No. But, you're going to be able to find guys who can hit. Anthony Santander from the Orioles, who's a free agent. He probably would fit nicely in a Yankees uniform. So I don't know what the final deciding factor was here. Why he decided to swap out the Yankee jersey for the Mets. Like I said, fans are already just up in arms. They're burning his jerseys. I saw that. Like, it's not like he was with you for a decade and he just crushed all of your hearts and dreams, calling him a sellout. But I mean, you're upset today, and that's fine. I can fully understand it. I remember when Jason Hayward, the Cardinals went and traded him. He had this resurgent good season with the Cardinals. Obviously, this is nowhere near a Juan Soto type of deal. But then he went to the Cubs, and we were all like, whoa. But I understood his reasoning behind it all, and I got it, and it was a business. And in the end, he wins the World Series with the Cubbies, but the Cardinals kind of got out of signing him to a super long-term deal that in the end did not work out, and he ended up bouncing around with multiple teams, but it worked out for the Cubs right away. But anyway, where will the Yankees pivot next? This is where the Cardinals can get involved here. That's where the Cardinals could come into play. So we're going to talk about that next on Locked On Cardinals. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. Now this year, you can skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off site-wide during their cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you're also going to get this $30 reward card when you shop early, which is awfully nice, and score an extra $30 off with the promo code MLB. Now, with 5 generations of experience, Omaha Steaks, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and their gifting experts have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages that are starting at just $89.99. Taking the wife or the family out for a steak dinner, it's a really nice thing to do. But man, it can get very, very expensive. And with the Omaha Steaks, it's not going to be like that whatsoever. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, you can save 50% off site-wide during the cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code MLB and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code MLB. Minimum purchase may apply. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Would love to hear what you guys think about the Juan Soto deal, specifically as Cardinal fans, where it seemed like just a couple of years ago, the Cardinals were very, very close to landing Juan Soto in that trade with the Washington Nationals. It fell through. The Padres had a better deal. They had better prospects, and the Nationals decided to go with that trade instead of the one with the Cardinals. And, that was history. He did not win all that much in San Diego, goes to the Yankees instead. They get it to the World Series, doesn't win it there. And now he's going to try his hand with the Mets. So, this signing for the Cardinals might be beneficial in a way to the Cardinals, because the Yankees were one of the teams that has been mentioned quite frequently to be interested in Cardinals third baseman Nolan Arenado. Now, before we get worked up about something like that taking place, I do want to remind you that, number one, Nolan Arenado still has that no trade clause. So if he doesn't want to go anywhere, he doesn't have to. So if the Yankees aren't a place that he wants to be, he doesn't have to go there. Number two, Alex Bregman is still the top option for teams looking to upgrade their third base position. He's younger. He's been a better hitter in recent years. Yeah, you're going to have to pay him. You just want a Gold Glove, but at the same time, you don't have to give up any of your prospects to go get him. So for the teams that are seeking help at third base, they're for certain going to kick the tires on Alex Bregman first before trying to conjure up a deal with the Cardinals to get Nato. Now, ESPN's Buster Olney tweeted out late last week that the Cardinals are working from a very limited list of Nolan Arenado's preferred teams as they consider trade possibilities for the future Hall of Famer. That is not shocking in the slightest. Like, there's only going to be a couple of places he wants to be and where he thinks he'll feel comfortable. Obviously, the Dodgers is a spot we think he'd be more than happy to go to. But is there a deal to be made there that makes sense for the Cardinals? I don't care what the Dodgers want to do. Like, I want one that makes sense for the Cardinals. And I saw that they had tweeted out something about, hey, maybe we swap out and give you guys Chris Taylor because he's a bad contract that's expiring. And we're like, no, I don't know. I don't want to pay Chris Taylor. I don't need him on my team. Not with the production he's had recently. I got no use for that. So no, you're the Dodgers. You eat that contract. You're the idiot that signed him to that. But Arenado, we want prospects in return is what we want. Will Leach at MLB.com listed 6 spots that make sense for Nato. The Dodgers are obviously some place that I think makes sense, but he's got the Yankees, the Astros, the Blue Jays, Phillies, Red Sox, and Tigers listed there. All of those teams have different hurdles to overcome before a deal could go down. Obviously, where does Alex Bregman go? And does Arenado want to be in any of those spots? The Cardinals will certainly have to eat some salary to facilitate a deal if it's agreed to, but that is what it is. The Cardinals were already willing to spend the money anyway, so it's not that big a deal. And if you trade him, you save some money and you get some prospects in return, that's great. But again, this is not going to be just like some easy thing to unload his contract, considering the trajectory of his production the last couple of years and how much money he's still owed. Mo once again stated that 2025 is not going to be a tear it down, full-on rebuild kind of season. Like, he is expecting to compete this year. Now, are the Cardinals going to be listed as one of the teams who have a shot at a World Series? Not out of the gate by any means. He told The Athletic last week, we have every intention of fielding a good baseball team. It is going to have a different profile, but we still have a lot of belief that some of our younger players will take that next step forward. We're excited about what we have. We're still going into next season with optimism that it'll be a fun baseball team to watch. They're going to continue to explore the market for Nolan Arenado. I also assume that they are listening to teams about Eric Fetty, Steven Matz, and Miles Michaelis. The Ryan Helsley situation, from all reports, is starting to lean more towards the Cardinals hanging on to Ryan Helsley now. But like I mentioned this week, perhaps that's maybe a ploy to get teams to offer more than they are already. We got reports that, business has picked up a little bit with the Cardinals, that there has been more interest in guys on the team. Mo was on with Tom Ackerman on KMOX this weekend and said, I would definitely say over the last week and a half, the volume of calls has definitely gone up. So from that standpoint, we're just trying to remain open-minded and understand really what these markets look like. Ultimately, my team will try and assess what we think is best for today and also the future, and see if we can make some decisions. I do think there will be some activity. It just feels like things are starting to loosen up. And for certain, now the Juan Soto deal is completed, things are going to pick up, because now all of the teams that thought they still had a shot at Juan Soto, they don't have to worry about that anymore, and they can take the money that they thought they were going to spend on Soto, and now they can start using it in different areas, whether it's free agency, whether it's flipping prospects, to bring in veteran guys, which is where the Cardinals would step in, with all of these guys that have contracts, and you got to make room for those guys, which is what we expected as the winter meetings got closer. And now that Juan Soto's off the table, these teams are going to be able to pivot to plans B, C, D, and so forth. And maybe that includes a call to the St. Louis Cardinals to check in on some of those veteran names that are available. Our friend Thomas Govain over at RedbirdBranch.com dropped an article that I encourage you guys to go click and check on, where he lists the 3 needs for the Cardinals at the winter meetings, and they include an addition at one specific position. I'll tell you what that is next, coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5. That's right, $5. And then you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. I don't know if you enjoyed the NFL action yesterday. Some decent games, that Chiefs and Chargers game. Really? They doink it in? Like, is there any way, and I hope Chiefs fans don't get mad about this, but is there any way that they're not going to get eliminated right away in the playoffs this year? Like, they're going, but golly, do they get lucky in almost every facet of the game to pull off these victories. I would be really, really nervous if I was a Chiefs fan going into the playoffs, just because we just haven't seen them play at that optimum level yet. But, you're watching that game, and as things started to unfold, you had that feeling that, it's a close one. Chiefs are going to somehow pull this one out. And, of course, they do. Their kicker doinks one off the upright, and it goes through and beats the Chargers. So, hey, congratulations. But when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, a reminder that with FanDuel, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on that same page where you're placing your bets. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball Guru Sully brings you the daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on all the teams during this offseason, the ongoings, the trades, the signings. It's all about to pick up a little bit. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, the first thing that our friend Thomas Govain lists is making a trade. Of the three things that he wants to see the Cardinals take care of when they get the winter meetings going here today, which I think we've covered enough already. You know my feelings on this. They need to find a partner for Arenado, Fetty, Matz, or Michaelis. Any of that stuff would be nice. I've actually got a poll question up on our Twitter X page saying, which one do you hope the Cardinals can do first? And it's trading one of Arenado, Fetty, Matz, or Michaelis. Which one do you want them to get through first? Which move? Which one do you want Mo to pull the trigger on first? So feel free to vote there. If they don't find a trade partner for any of these guys, is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. Just because they aren't dealt this at the meetings this week doesn't mean something can't be worked out before spring training starts. So I wouldn't lose my mind if a deal isn't done. I'd be shocked if at least some deal isn't done. Particularly the Steven Matz one. The Arenado one, you might have to wait on that. But a Steven Matz deal or an Eric Fetty deal, I feel like those are kind of like easy ones that should be able to be made. The second thing he says is the team needs to add a reliever. And he brings up the Cardinals' current crop of relievers, which include Ryan Helsley, Matthew Liberatore, Ryan Fernandez, John King, Jojo Romero as their 5 guaranteed relievers. He brings up guys like Kyle Leahy, Michael McGreevy, Zach Thompson, Gordon Graceffo, who could make relief appearances, but says that John Mozeliak could dip into the free agent pool to bring back an experienced bullpen arm. Is Andrew Kittredge interested in coming back to the Cardinals? Obviously, we loved Kit this past year. He was great. He also brings up Blake Trinan, but he just signed a 2-year deal with the Dodgers, so he's off the market. Dodgers also signed Michael Conforto to a 1-year, I think it was $17 million deal. So the Dodgers are still putting pieces together. He brings up Kirby Yates, Carlos Estevez, although in my opinion, those guys might get some pretty decent deals from other teams that may be a bit too rich for what the Cardinals are wanting to spend right now. Non-tenured guys around the league, that seems like more of the avenue the Cardinals might be floating in. The low-hanging fruit, as is the term that we've gotten to know quite well here in St. Louis. Kyle Finnegan, Jordan Romano, Brent Honeywell Jr., Jacob Webb are guys that he brings up. Finnegan and Romano, they've had some really good success as a closer, so it wouldn't shock me if they also signed some incentive-laden deals with big market teams, and they might get a little expensive, but, obviously those are good targets for the Cardinals. Somebody who's looking to maybe sign a 1-year prove-it deal, and if things go well, cool. If, you can flip them at the trade deadline if the Cardinals aren't where they want to be. But it also isn't like overly expensive where you're not cracking open your piggy bank going, how are we going to pay these guys? That wouldn't be the case either. Thomas says he likes Webb is a guy that he's intrigued by. 31 years old, struck out 58 batters in 56 and 2/3 innings, 3.02 ERA with the Baltimore Orioles in 2024. So, that sounds like a guy that the Cardinals would be interested in. Try to get some value out of him And like I said, you either flip him at the deadline or maybe you get him to a 2-year deal and he sticks around. His final need that he brings up is one that I didn't really think about until I read this. And I was like, yeah, 2025 MLB draft. He wants them to commit resources to this. The Cardinals obviously had a better year in 2024 than they did in 2023. So, they're not projected to be in the top 10 of the picks this year like they were this past year when they ended up at the number 7 overall pick, which was actually lower than we thought they were going to be. But they were still able to snag current number 1 prospect, J.J. Weatherholt out of West Virginia with that pick, which was fantastic. I'm very excited about the future of J.J. Weatherholt. Some people thought he was going to go number 1 overall. That's how good he has been. But an injury that last year in college kind of set things back a little bit, and people went in different directions, and he was able to fall into the Cardinals' lap at number 7. This year, projections have the Cardinals drafting around number 13. But it is a lottery after all, so they could end up higher than 13. So maybe they'll get a little bit luckier than they did this past year after, they kind of got shafted, especially when you saw the Reds able to get the number 2 overall pick. And you're like, hey, we had a way worse year than the Cincinnati Reds. This is bull crap. But again, you got Weatherholt out of it. So we're not going to cry too much about that. But still, you're hoping that Lady Luck will be on their side a little bit more here in 2025's draft. Thomas says this year's draft, it leans heavier on high school prep people. One of them being Ethan Holiday. That name sounds familiar. Yes, it is former Cardinal Matt Holliday's other kid, who was a shortstop and third baseman, age 17, already 6'4", 200 pounds. MLB Pipeline's a number 1 prospect. Apparently has more power than Jackson Holiday, who was already up with the Orioles last year, former number 1 overall pick. So that's kind of what we're dealing with at the winter meetings. Now that the Soto thing is done, you're going to start seeing more people scramble into different positions, and hopefully the Cardinals can benefit from some of the moves that these guys want to make. So we're going to keep you updated on everything that goes on with the winter meetings throughout the week. So be sure to follow us online and, of course, on YouTube. And thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Subscribe on YouTube, up our channel, and our love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.